Today's TLDR RFC is about 1373 portable duas. This is an informational RFC written by T. Tignor. At this time, he's representing the Information Institute, I assume, not the Pakistani Inter-Services Intelligence. And the time we're talking about is 1992. So the A in duas stands for interface, because I have no idea why that's an A and not an I. Maybe because it would then spell DUIs. And what I like about this particular RFC is it's written very familiar. So far in my reading experience, it's just pretty unique compared to the other RFCs I've read. And this is what I mean. In the introduction, he writes, the first part is for regular people who wish to set up their own duas. I just don't think the word regular people here and duas will ever go together. This is for network engineers or system administrators. I mean, people working with these types of directories. He goes on to write, it is fully expected that the user will be able to perform the necessary operations as he reads through the instructions for the first time and have a working Dua when he finishes. So yes, this RFC is very meticulous and step-by-step type of instructions. And that's true for the second part right here, which I would not be reading much of. If you go to ISO.com, they seem to have changed as an organization, but the website says they are messaging and directory software company. So to show you what I mean, here is the homepage. You can see here where it says what we do. Supplied mostly through large system integrators, ISO products are widely used in markets where security and reliability are key requirements, including military messaging, military XMPP, military directory, AMHS messaging, ATN directory, EDI, and government directory. And you still might not be convinced that they've changed as a company. Even under products, you see LDAP X500 directory right there. But as I researched more into their history, right down here in 2002, I believe, we read right here, 2008 is the release of ISO's core XMPP product. XMPP is Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol. So if we keep scrolling down here, 2002, ISOD was re-established as an independent UK company to refocus on supporting existing products and new product development. At the end of this RFC, you'll see the author is from California. You'll see Marina Del Rey here. And like I usually do, I emailed this address. And unlike most RFCs I've emailed so far, I didn't get any error messages back that it doesn't exist. So maybe I'll have that to look forward to later. This RFC is all about directory user interfaces. The document currently has 4 subparts. So each part is about one of those duas. Who is DE, Dixie's UD, and then Doog. So let's dive right in here. Who is an interface for X500 and may be available to any ISO resident machine, which also runs DSA, which stands for Directory System Agent. These are usually on domain controllers. But I think the Who is program right here will look familiar to any networking students. I think it's one of the first things you learn about. So to use it, you could type in who is tac h and the host name in order to get information back. And you can even use a user-friendly format. And if you want to know more about the user-friendly naming format, you can read RFC 1484. But let me demonstrate a little here. See, I'm in my Etsy folder right now. That doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and type who is. It's a nice friendly name. And as you can see, lots of information here. If I wanted to be specific, well, that didn't work. This is a bit better, but I should have typed it into less. Okay, so domain name is google.com. If I press the spacebar through this stuff, and it looks like if I just use the user-friendly format, they give me a different type of output. And I wonder why that is. But right now, I've got to focus on the RFC. So there's the who is program, then the DE. Like I was saying in the beginning, this RFC is written sort of differently from many that I've read. Tignor writes things like, if you do not have a directory, home /ISO /bin, where home is your home directory, create it now. I'm going to read through these instructions to give you that sense of this RFC. So after you've created the directory, FTP the compressed tar file, dportable.tar.z, from your local ISO resident machine and put it in your ISO directory. If you cannot find this file locally, it is available by Anonymous. Now FTP from this in the X500 directory then change your directory to home/ISO. Once there, you're going to uncompress this tar file using tar extract file command. If your name is listed in the directory, edit the d/detailer file and add a line reading username and then your distinguished name in the directory. Then you're going to copy that over to there. Now edit the config.make variables binder, etcdir, and sbindir Sibinder to refer to your isode/binary, isode/etsy, and isode/etsy directories. Remember, this was created by your previous command. So now you want to ran libd sap.a, same thing but with libsode.a, and then change your directory to the de folder. Type in .makeall, ./make install all. And here's where I'll stop, because if you have an error when you're typing these, he'll go ahead and give you directions for this thing he's calling a sub-procedure. So this is really diving into some of the code of the DE executable. You have to manipulate a header file called general. So that's DE. And then Dixie UD, apparently this Wikipedia article says it's an obsolete protocol. Dixie was created in 1990. Remember, this paper is 1992. The Braves were playing the Blue Jays around the time of this paper, in the World Series, that is. But since it's obsoleted, I probably won't be reading this RFC that it is specified in. He writes, the DUA operates from a predefined base, a position in the DIT, the DIT, one or more branches above the entries to be queried, and then the base is usually an organization name such as, and here's our example. I thought the command for this was kind of cool. UD starts with a preset base, but this base can be changed with the CB command. And there's your example with an argument. The distinguished name is the argument. So I'll skip through those instructions. They say UD comes with the Dixie package, which is a mini environment designed specifically to support lightweight directory access. Using UD requires that a Dixie server is running along with a DSA on your local ISOD resident machine. Remember DSA, Directory System Agent. Alright, so we're going to scroll down. You're going to uncompress a file. This creates a Dixie environment. As a user interested in UD only, there are a number of things in the package that would be taking up space to no purpose, so the following sequence of commands will get rid of them. Then in the author's unique prose-like writing, he says, that done, we continue to bring UD to life. It's like the reverse Frankenstein. Instead of putting pieces together to make UD, you chop pieces off to make UD work for your purposes in terms of just a directory user interface. Alright, so here's our fourth and last one. It's my favorite named one. Same type of deal, instructions on how to get it going. So this is a relatively short RFC. Here are instructions for ISOD maintainers. Whois is a simple program already available at most Unix workstations and hosts. Personally, I had to download it here on my Ubuntu system, so maybe ISOD hasn't changed too much if even back then they were working with the military. Here it says Defense Data Networks Network Information Center, but back then these are instructions to explain how to use the Whois to access data in the White Pages Pilot X500 database. So remember, 1992. So to be an ISOD maintainer, you're following these directions using Whois. I could quickly show you. They say to go to your Etsy folder and go to the services file. So here's that file on just your typical kind of Ubuntu box. If we go down to the port that they're telling us to in order to write white pages, you'll see I have nothing in the 17,000 ranges except a Dropbox protocol. So needless to say, I'm not editing the file on my machine, and I also don't even have a file for servers. But if you're just learning this stuff, I always suggest you explore your own system like this. So with that said, that's the end of this TLDR. He'll go on and on with a similar type of instructions for the ISO maintainers this time. I guess the last thing I could say is it's interesting they mention at the very end that there are not any security considerations being discussed in the memo. I tried to find more information on Tom but didn't get very far. And I guess all in all the most challenging thing about this RFC will be to remember that DUA stands for directory user interfaces.